Hello, and welcome to the 9th part of the Minion series. My name is Raymond Gabriel, and in this part, we will animate the character and make an animation cycle for walking, running, idling, and jumping to get it ready for export to Unity. If you haven't watched the last parts, you can watch them from here or from a link in the description below. At the end of this video, I will also show you the basics of how to use the non-linear animation editor, so stick out till the end. Without any further delay, let's get started. We will start with the animation cycle for the walking. As you can see here, this is a reference from the Animator's Survival Kit by Richard Williams. It's a very useful book and it contains all sorts of info about animation. I will be leaving a link in the description below, make sure to check it out. As you can see, the walk cycle contains 25 frames starting from 1 to 25, and then each third frame contains a different pose. So in the first frame you will see a pose which is the contact pose, and then after 3 frames you will see another pose. Mainly the walk cycle consists of a contact pose which repeats 3 times in a walk cycle in frame 1, frame 13 and frame 25. And then at frame 7 and frame 19 this is the pass pose where the 2 legs are approximately at the same location. And then you have a down pose where the character is at its lowest position, and then an up pose where the character is at its highest position in the walk cycle. We will animate the first 13 frames and then mirror them for the other remaining frames in the walk cycle, so we don't make duplicate work. We will get to that in a minute. Alright, let's go to Blender. Okay, down there you will see a timeline which is open by default, and here you will see that the starting frame is 1 and the end frame is 250. So we have a total of 250 frames for our animation strip. So we only want to animate 25 frames as we saw in the reference. So let's just change the end frame to 25. So we only have 25 frames here. Next we need to open up a new viewport. So split the viewport from here and switch it to dope sheet. In the dope sheet we will be able to see our keyframes better and be able to manipulate them better than in the timeline. Okay, so in the first frame, we need to make the character in a contact pose as we saw in the reference, and then keyframe the location of the bones so that it's stored in the frame here. Okay, so first thing we need to do is select the armature and go to pose mode by pressing Ctrl Tab. Okay, select the foot IK controller and then push it forward a little on the Y axis like that. Grab the other foot and push it back like that. For this foot, rotate it until the heel is touching the ground like that, and for the other foot, select the heel roll and rotate it like that a little. Maybe push it back more. As you can see, the shoes are going out from the clothes. We will not be going back to weight painting and fixing this stuff with the rigging. We can just select the clothes model and select the last edge loop here, enabling proportional editing, and scale it out and make it bigger like that, so it just covers the whole shoes like that. Let's do the same thing for the other leg. This is just a bit quicker. We don't want to go back to rigging and weight painting and all that stuff. Okay, so let's try and push it back a little more. Okay, I think we need to increase the heel roll a bit in the armature tab. Then select the second layer where it has all the other bones. Go to wireframe, select this bone which has the copy rotation for the heel controller, and increase the limit of its rotation to maybe -25, so it can be rotated a little bit more. Let's make it -40. I think it's much better like that. Okay. For the other leg also make the limit rotation for this bone about 40 degrees as well, so the heel roll can just rotate a bit more. If you want to download this reference, I will be leaving it in the description below. Let's just add it inside of Blender so we can see it at all times while we are making the poses for the character. Okay, so go to where you saved it, drag and drop it inside Blender like that. Press Alt R, Alt G, so it's in the center of the scene. Rotate it on the X axis. So we got the contact pose sort of done. Let's also adjust the location of the hands. So select the hand IK control. For the hand, it will be always in the opposite direction with the leg. So this hand should be forward like that. I think there is a problem here with the closes as well, so let's just pull this one on the x-axis a little like that, and the other one so we don't have a problem with the hand going through the clothes again. And for the other arm, let's just move it. Okay, after you have adjusted all the position of those bones, press A to select all of the bones, then press Shift and the left arrow on your keyboard, and that will put the marker in the first frame. You can just write here 1 so that this marker or the header is at the first frame. Okay, now press I, which will get you Insert Keyframe menu, and then choose Location, Rotation, Scale. What will that do is that it will add the location and the rotation and the scale of the bones in those keyframes. So all the selected bones have their location and rotation and scale stored in these frames right now. Next, what we need to do is mirror those keyframes at frame 13. As you can see here in the reference, frame 1 has the first contact pose, and then frame 13 have the same contact pose but in the opposite direction. So we just need to mirror those keyframes to frame 13 here. So while you're selecting all the bones like that, go with your mouse in the dope sheet, then press Ctrl C to copy the keyframes, then press Ctrl Shift V, copy the keyframes and mirror them to the other side. So the position of those bones will be copied to the position of those bones and vice versa. So right now, if we move the header between those two keyframes, you will see that the character is starting to move like that. Remove the second layer so we can see a little better. Okay, now we need to make the poses for the down, pass and up pose in frame 4, frame 7 and frame 10. Put your header at frame 4 and let's just try and mimic the shape of the reference here. So first thing we need to do is grab the left foot IK here, then press Alt R to reset the rotation of it. Maybe press Alt R for the heel controller as well to make it flat on the ground. I think we're doing the reference for those frames, so let's just move the reference to this side so we can understand a little better. So right now we are doing the down pose here, so we want to make the pose for this leg. Let's just rotate it like that and push it back. Flatten out the heel roll. As you can see, the mesh gets broken if I move the bone too much, so just try to work within the limits of the rig. I think it's close enough to that pose. Let's adjust the hand a bit, the rotation of it, like that. Select the waist bone, maybe push it down on the Z-axis like that for the down pose, and then rotate it towards the left foot. Let's just pull this bone back a bit like that. Select the hip bone as well and rotate it towards this side a bit like that. Okay, I think all the bones look good enough. Select all bones, press I, then select location, rotation, scale, and that will put the keyframe here at frame 4. As you can see, if we push the header, it's moving between those two frames. Okay, if we go to the side view and try to move the header from 1 to 4, you will see that the animation looks like that. As you can see, at frame 2 and at frame 3, the right leg is going through the floor. If we added a plane very quickly at the middle of the scene and scale it out, you'll see that the leg is going through the floor, and that is something that we don't want. We will get to that when we finish the main poses and start to make in between poses and adjust all those errors that we see here. Okay, so let's move on to frame 7. At frame 7, it's the pass pose, so the two legs are more or less in the same position. The problem with this character is that its leg is too small, so it's very hard to get the pose accurately. So let's just try to do it as much as we can. It will not be visible that much, but try to mimic the pose as much as possible. Select the waist bone and press Alt R, Alt G so it's in the normal position. Okay, let's leave it at that. Alt R for the heel bone, Alt R, Alt G for this bone as well. Let's move this one back. And just try to get the shape as good as possible within the limits of the rig and of the mesh. Alright. Okay, I think that is good enough. Select all bones, press I, then location, rotation, scale. Alright, the last pose is the up pose, where the character is at its highest position. So put the header at frame 10, grab the waist bone and move it up, move the hand up a little, select this bone and rotate it like that to make it looking towards the ground like that, and the other bone just needs to be pushed back. Okay, let's go with that. Press A to select all bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. Let's try and watch the full animation. Let's go back to those 2 frames and try to fix the leg going through the floor issue here. So go to frame 2, then select this bone and move it up until it's above the Y or the plane like that. Alright, then press I, location, rotation, scale. You can also press this toggle, auto keying, which will enable you to add a keyframe when you move a bone. So if I selected this bone and moved it on the Z axis like that and press the left key to confirm the new position, you will see that the keyframe has been added automatically without manually pressing I then adding a keyframe here. So that is just another way of adding keyframes, which will make posing your character a little bit easier. But make sure to turn it off when you don't need it, because you might make a lot of mistakes while it's on. So make sure that you are aware that it's on while you're moving the bones. If you don't need it, just toggle it off. So let's just watch how the character is moving right now. You'll see that at frame 6 the leg is going through the floor again. So let's just enable auto keying and push it up like that. I think it's looking good enough, not bad. So what we need to do next is mirror all these keyframes to the other 13 frames to complete the cycle. Alright, so select all the keyframes. Then while your header is at frame 13, make sure that you have all bones selected by pressing A. Then put your mouse at the dope sheet, Ctrl C, Ctrl Z V, and that will copy all the keyframes and mirror them. So if you continue like that, you'll see that it's moving in the other direction. To make the cycle work perfectly, as the first frame and the last frame is repeating, we don't want it to play 2 times. So let's just change the end frame from 25 to 24 so that the last frame does not play and starts from the beginning again. So if we try now, select the armature, press H, and let's try and play the animation, you will see that the character is moving and has a loop cycle starting again and again. Okay, so that's the walk cycle done. Press Alt H to bring back the armature. What we need to do is save all those keyframes and put them aside so we can work on another cycle. So go here and switch from dope sheet to action editor. You will see that the action here is called armature action. Just change the name of this action to walk. Alright, then you will see here 2 buttons, stash and push down. Stash, if you press it, you will see that all the keyframes have been removed. They are not actually removed, but they are stored in the NLA editor. So if you just open a new viewport and then from here selected nonlinear animation, you will see that you now have an action stash called walk, and we have the dope sheet empty. We can add another cycle and then press stash and have more than one action here saved. If we want to get this walk cycle back, we just need to press this check mark and that will enable the action here. If we don't want that, we can uncheck it and you will have a blank animation. If you want to edit an action after it has been stashed, you can press tab on the action here and that will enable you to edit the keyframes that you have. Then press tab again and that will close it one more time. Let's close the nonlinear animation viewport. Select the armature, select every bone, press Alt R, Alt G to return all the bones to their default position. Let's try and make the run cycle now. Delete the reference for the walk cycle. I have another reference also from the Animator survival kit for the run cycle. As you can see, the run cycle, this is only half of it. The other half would be mirrored from this one. I will be linking this image in a link in the description below. Let's just import it inside of Blender. Select it. Press shift and the right arrow so you have the header at frame 1. Let's try and make the contact pose of the run cycle. First thing, I think we need to pull the waist, rotate it, and also the head. Maybe select the leg, push it forward, rotate it like that. The other leg backwards. push it back to its limit, like that. Select the arm, push this one back. Select the other arm and push this one forward. That is the first frame. Select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. Go to frame 7, press Ctrl C, then Ctrl Shift V to mirror the pose at frame 7. And now we have this pose right here. Let's make the other poses, the down, the in between, the pass, the heist, and the in between here as well. Move the marker to frame 2, select this leg, press Alt R, and that will reset its rotation. Press Alt G to reset the position as well. Select the other leg. Maybe it's good like that, we don't need to change its position. Make sure that the arms are not going through the body, so push them away a little like that. If you need to change the elbow position, you can just select the elbow bone and move them back like that. Okay, select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. If you just press the right arrow, you'll see that the header will move one frame forward. Let's make this pose. So this leg should be pushed back, all the way back like that. Maybe rotate it a bit. And the other leg should be pushed forward and rotated. Adjust the position of the arm a bit. I think we forgot to adjust the waist and head bone in the down pose here. So let's just add the pose in frame 3 and go back to frame 2. Select the waist bone, enable auto keying so that any movement to the bones is recorded in this keyframe. It will replace the keyframe already at frame 2. So select this bone, push it down a bit like that and make it lean towards the right leg like that, and also the head bone, rotate it like that. Maybe select the hand and push it away. So because we have auto keying on, all the movement that we've done here has already been stored in this frame. Remove the auto keying and move the header to frame 4. Let's try and make this pose. This is the high pose. As you can see here, the line of the head, it's at its highest position. Select this leg, rotate it like that, push it forward. Select the waist bone and push it up. Select this hand and forward a bit like that. And the other hand, move it back a little like that. Select this bone and maybe push it like that, and select the heel bone. Try to get it as if it's standing on his toes. Press A to select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. Okay, let's jump to frame 5. This is where the feet are in the air, so we need to make sure that both feet are in the air like that. So this feet, push it up, this one like that, so both of them are above the ground like that. Maybe rotate this one back so it's facing the other way. I pressed Alt R on the heel bone. I think it looks close enough. Maybe select the hand bone and move it forward, and the other hand move it more towards the back. Let's select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. Let's make the last pose, frame 6. It's more or less the same, but the feet is starting to gravitate towards the ground a bit. You'll see that it's already doing that. Let's just push it down a bit like that. I don't think we need to make any changes. I think it's looking good enough. We can just select all the bones and put another keyframe here. Okay, so let's select all the bones, press Ctrl C, then select all the bones by pressing A in the viewport here, then press Ctrl Shift V. So right now we have at frame 13, this is the end frame. Let's put here frame 12, so as not to repeat the first frame and last frame. Let's play the animation right now and see what we will get. I think it's moving too fast, so in order to fix that, I think we need to make it 25 frames. Select all the keyframes, then press S to scale it out. You'll see that I can scale all the bones from the location of the header. If I press S, then press 2, that will multiply the spaces between the keyframes by 2 and will make it along 25 frames instead of 13 frames. Let's just put the end at 24 and let's try again. Let's see it in a slow motion. I think at frame 4 the leg is going through the floor, so let's just select all these keyframes, delete them, select this bone and push it up. The reason why I deleted those because I will mirror the first frames again, so I just want to do it when I fix all the in-between poses. So enable auto keying and push it above the ground a bit like that. Right here it's going through the floor again, so push it above the floor. In this frame, I think I don't need the heel bone to be rotated like that. Okay, select all the bones in the viewport, put the header at frame 13, Ctrl C, Ctrl Shift V, hide the armature, play the animation. It's looking much better. I'm just trying to get the idea across. You can just adjust the poses as much as you can so that the animation feels good to you. It doesn't have to be the same exact animation. If it feels good to you, then it's fine. Press Alt H to bring back the armature, switch to Action Editor, change the name of the action to Run, then press Dash, and that will remove it from the dope sheet. Go back to dope sheet, press Shift and the left arrow, put the header at the first frame again, remove the reference for now. Okay, select the armature, go to pose mode, Alt R, Alt G to put it back at its resting position. The third animation we want to make is the idle animation. This one is very easy compared to the other cycles we just made. We just want to make the character as if it's breathing and standing still. Select the waist bone, maybe push it down a bit like that, push it forward, and also maybe push the head down a bit as if he's taking his breath. Select the hands and push them down in a resting pose like that. Okay, select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale, move to frame 13, make sure to enable auto keying, then rotate the head bone a bit like that, and maybe push the waist bone a little up and rotate it a bit. Maybe select the two hands and push them up a bit. Just select the first keyframe, press Shift D to duplicate this keyframe and put it at frame 25. So right now if I played, I think it's not bad. Maybe it's a bit too fast. So let's try to slow it down a bit. I think to do that at frame 13, not to lean back as much. So push that forward like that. It slowed down a bit, but let's also try and push the waist bone high a bit like that, and the hand bones a bit higher like that. Okay, I think it's good enough for now. Okay, next go to Action Editor, change the name of this action to idle, then press Dash. Now press Shift and the left arrow key to move back to the first frame, then go back to dope sheet, select the armature, disable auto keying, select all the bones, press Alt R, Alt G. Okay, the final animation that we want to do is the jumping animation. Let's get the final reference for the jumping animation. I will be linking it also in the description below. Drop it inside of Blender. First, we have a contact pose and its mirror right here. So let's try and get the poses. For the first frame, move the right leg forward and rotate it. Make the character lean forward a bit like that. Okay, select the other leg, push it back, rotate it all the way around like that, and push it up. For the hands, let's make it opposite to the leg. The other hand back. Okay, I think that's the first pose. Select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. And the second pose, let's put it at frame 4. Select this leg, press Alt R to flatten it on the ground, push it back, maybe get the other feet forward a bit like that. And select the waist bone, push it down, maybe lean it towards the right leg a bit like that. I think the hands should be lifted up like that. We can get back to it and try to fix it as we don't have any hands in the reference. So let's try to improvise here. Lean the head towards the right leg a bit. Select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. Okay, let's jump to frame 7. Let's try to get this proper position. So I think we need to get the right leg back all the way like that. Rotate it, push it up. Maybe rotate the heel bone a bit. Select the waist bone, push it up. Also press Alt R to reset the rotation, and for the head bone as well. To be like that, select the other leg and make it push forward. Try to get it looking good for the mesh. I know it's hard to control because the mesh is not helping, but try to get it as good looking as possible. I think this is as good as I can get it for this pose. So select all the bones, press I, location, rotation, scale. For the fourth pose, let's give it a little space and not just make it after 3 frames, put it maybe at frame 13. Okay, and try to make this pose. I think there is a problem here with the rig. If you selected the second layer, press shift and hold to be able to select multiple layers. I think these 2 pelvic bones are not parented to the base bones, so that will probably make some issues with moving the bones. So select these 2 bones, then select the base bone, press Ctrl P, then keep offset. In the other animations that we did, the problem wasn't really visible, but I think it will be visible with this one. So make sure that these are parented to the base bone. Alright, go back to pose mode. Okay, let's try and get this pose. So select the first layer again, select this leg and push it like that. Okay, the second leg. Select the heel bone, press Alt R, rotate the leg as much as it can and put it like that. For the hands, let's just move it forward like that. Select the other hand and push it towards the back. Now select the hands, the leg, the other leg and the waist bone and push all the character up to the highest position like that. Select all the bones, then press I, location, rotation, scale. Okay, so I think it's going good so far. For the last pose, it's actually the inverse of the first frame. So put the header at frame 25, select the first frame here, this keyframe, and that will select all the other keyframes. Select all the bones in the armature, then press Ctrl C, then Ctrl Shift V. Alright, so let's just see the final animation. I think maybe if we duplicated the highest pose here again to frame say 19, yeah, let's make it 19. Select all the bones and maybe push them down a bit. Enable auto keying to be able to record the keyframe here at frame 19 so that the character stays in the air a bit before it goes down. Yeah, I think it's looking better. So it's jumping and staying in the air for a few frames, then going down like that. Let's take a look at the hands and see if it's looking fine. Okay, so I think in this frame the hand should move like that. Maybe select the elbow bone and push it like that. As you can see, I have auto keying on, so all the movement that I'm making right now is being recorded. I think this twitching at the beginning and at the end of the frame will not be visible when we import it into Unity, because this will not be a cycle animation. This will just be a one-time animation that will happen during the running cycle. So this will not be a looping animation. So the twitching that you see right here will not be a problem. Okay, so let's finish up by going back to object mode, select the action editor, change the name of the action to jump, then press dash. Alright, perfect. Select the armature, go to pose mode, Alt R, Alt G. I have left auto keying on, so I made a keyframe here by mistake, so just press X and delete the keyframe. Make sure to save this file. This will be imported into Unity for the next part. We are done with the actions that we want to import into Unity, but what if you want to make an animation just inside Blender and don't want to import it into Unity? I will not go into detail, but I will just tell you how we can use the action that we have done and make an animation out of it. So first thing you need to do is just open up a new viewport, then select the nonlinear animation. As you can see here, we have the jump, idle, run, and walk animation that we've done. Let's just remove the reference. Okay, from here we can add an NLA track like that, NLA track. In this track we can add multiple actions in row so that the character starts to repeat its actions. First we need to change the keyframe to 250 so we have room for the frames. Then from add we can add an action strip. You'll see here these are created by mistake. Let's just select the walk. As you can see, it's inserted the walk cycle at the location of the header. Let's just put the header here, then add an action strip again, then another walk cycle. Put the header here and add another walk cycle like that. You'll see that the character is moving. and then stopping at the end of the third walk cycle. What if we want the character to actually move in the scene? Right now he's moving in the same place. Simply, you just select the armature in object mode, make sure that you are in object mode, go to frame 1, then put a keyframe to the armature while in object mode. If you press I, location, rotation, scale, you will see that now the armature has taken a keyframe as an object, not in pose mode. So if I go to frame 73 here at the end of the walk cycle, then I press G and Y and push the armature forward like that. Then I press I, location, rotation, scale. You will see that the armature will move from this position to this position, and the walk cycle will be running. So he's walking and is actually moving across the scene. Okay, you can adjust the speed by just grabbing this frame and maybe push it away so he's moving slower, or maybe push it like that and he will be moving faster, but I think that will make him look like he's sliding. So make sure that you have at frame 90 maybe like that, and that will make it look a bit better. And also, you can just go to pose mode and add more keyframes for the character. So right now, he's making 3 walk cycles. I can maybe make him blink while he's walking. So select the blinking eye, rotate it, select the other one, rotate it as well. Select both bones, location, rotation, scale, and that will put a keyframe here. Maybe before it, let's press Alt R to make it open. I, location, rotation, scale, so it's open, then closed, then after 2 frames, let's make it open again. I, location, rotation, scale. Alright, so he's blinking like that. I can just select these 3 keyframes and duplicate them here and here, so that when he's walking, he's blinking multiple times. The same thing goes with the mouse animation. I can make him smile maybe, so select all the bones right here, maybe put a keyframe here, then at frame 18, he will start to smile. Okay, select all the bones of the mouth again, press I, location, rotation, scale. Oh, we forgot to add the keyframe for the jaw, so he's not actually opening his mouth, he's just smiling. So make sure to add a keyframe for the jaw, and at frame 18, let's make him open his mouth a bit, like that. This is where the auto keying will be very useful, so let's just turn that on and make all the changes that we want, and we will be sure that the keyframe will be inserted automatically. That is just a simple animation. You can do more than that, but I just wanted to let you know how the non-linear animation works. There is a lot more that I want to let you know. There is shape keys, bone groups, pose library. There is a lot of stuff that can be said about animation in Blender, but I will leave that to other tutorials as this video has gone long enough. That's it for this part. In the next part, we will import the character inside Unity and finalize the series by controlling the character with the keyboard and mouse. If you'd like to watch more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified as soon as a new video gets uploaded. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.